Have you ever looked out your window and seen your neighbor just standing there? Not doing anything. Not moving. Just staring. For most people, neighbors are just background characters. The person who waves when you mow the lawn. The one who complains if your music is too loud. But what if the person living next door wasn't just watching? What if they were planning? Let me tell you about Heather and Ben McAllister. They had 2 kids, Max and Ellie, and were thrilled to move into a new home in Greenfield, Indiana. A quiet town, a good school district, and a cul-de-sac where their kids could ride their bikes safely. Everything was perfect, except for one thing. Their next-door neighbor. His name was Dwight Ellison. He was in his late 60s. Always wore a brown cardigan, even when it was 90 degrees. Heather tried to introduce herself once. Brought over a plate of cookies. He opened the door just a crack, stared at her without blinking, took the plate, and shut the door without saying a word. Weird. But not illegal. First they thought he was just antisocial. Until strange things started happening. Began with the mailbox. Every morning it was open. They'd shut it, lock it. The next morning, open again. Then they'd hear tapping on the windows at night. Soft, deliberate. When Ben went outside to check, nothing was there. Then came the footprints. Muddy prints from the woods behind their house. They stopped at the porch right at their front door. And once, sitting on top of the trash bin, Ben found one of Ellie's dolls, its head missing. The thing was, they hadn't thrown it out. That doll had been on Ellie's bookshelf just the day before. Heather checked the security footage. All cameras had been disabled. Completely shut off for 2 hours. No alerts, no glitches. Someone knew exactly how to avoid detection. They tried to brush it off. Maybe it was kids playing a prank. Maybe they were just stressed. Until one morning, Heather saw Max talking to someone near the fence. When she asked who it was, he said, "The man in the brown sweater." Heather looked, no one was there. But Max swore he'd been standing right there, asking about Ellie. That night they didn't sleep much. Then came the worst of it. Ben went out to the garage to grab something and found a notebook tucked behind an old cabinet. It wasn't theirs. Inside were pages of notes about their family. When they left for work. What time the kids went to sleep. Which windows were usually open. One page had a hand-drawn map of their home. It marked all the blind spots in their security system. And at the very end, in shaky handwriting, were the words, "They don't see me, but I see everything." They called the police immediately. Officers conducted a search of Dwight's home. In his attic they found photos. Hundreds of them. Some taken through windows. Some clearly snapped from the woods behind their house. There were even pictures of Heather brushing her hair in the bathroom. Of Max sleeping. Of Ellie playing in the yard. There were audio tapes too. Long, eerie recordings of their conversations. Private moments spliced with heavy breathing and whispers. But Dwight, he was gone. Vanished. No one saw him leave. His car was still in the driveway. He'd disappeared into thin air. The McAllisters packed up and left the following week. Now let me take you to Portland, Oregon. Jason Carter had just gone through a rough divorce. He moved into a small apartment complex just to reset his life. His upstairs neighbor was a man named Mr. Callahan. Quiet, polite, older, harmless, or so Jason thought. But he noticed something strange. No noise ever came from upstairs. No walking, no TV, no running water. Nothing. At night, Jason would hear a creaking noise, always around 3 or 4 a.m., like someone rocking in a chair directly above his bed. But the apartment manager insisted Callahan was quiet and never complained about anything. Then Jason started getting notes under his door. First they were just weird. "You should smile more." Then they got creepy. "You looked peaceful while you slept." "You left your window unlocked." Jason installed a camera facing his front door. For 2 weeks nothing happened. Then one night, while reviewing the footage, he saw a man walk into his apartment at 2:16 a.m. The door hadn't been broken. It had been unlocked with a key. The man wandered into Jason's kitchen, grabbed a bottle of water from the fridge, and sat on the couch for nearly an hour, watching Jason sleep. Then he left. Police investigated. They found a master key, one that had supposedly been deactivated years ago. When they searched the building's crawlspaces, they found something horrifying. A small mattress, a backpack, and food wrappers above Jason's ceiling. And photographs, dozens of them. Jason eating. Jason watching TV. Jason sleeping. Mr. Callahan had been entering his apartment through a hidden ceiling panel. He'd been living above him, watching him, studying him. He was arrested, but the damage was done. Jason moved out that weekend. Still think creepy neighbors are just a movie trope. Let me tell you about Emily Thompson in Savannah, Georgia. Emily had just bought her first home. A dream come true. She was young, independent, and ready to settle down. Her neighbor Curtis seemed like a nice guy. Helpful. Always offering to mow her lawn or carry her groceries. A little over-friendly, maybe. Then he started bringing her things. A used teddy bear. An old locket. Porcelain angel. Each gift came with a note. You're not alone. Someone is watching out for you. It was unsettling to say the least. Then one day, she came home and found a photo taped to her door. Polaroid. Of her sleeping. Taken through her bedroom window. She called the police. They searched Curtis's home. Inside, they found a monitor hooked up to a hidden camera he had placed in a tree outside her bedroom. They also found a journal. Inside, he had written entire fictional stories about Emily. In his mind, they were married. They had kids. They spent holidays together. He believed she belonged to him. He was arrested for stalking and unlawful surveillance. But Emily never felt safe there again. She sold the house and left. These aren't stories from a movie. These are real. Documented. Terrifying. And what makes them so disturbing is how ordinary they seem at first. A man in a sweater. An old neighbor upstairs. A helpful guy with a warm smile. But behind those smiles, behind the friendly waves, some of them are hiding something darker. So the next time you move into a new place, take a moment. Look around. Pay attention to the ones who always seem to be watching. Because not all neighbors are just neighbors. Some are waiting. And some are already inside.